I'm currently standing at the Air Disaster Memorial outside RAF Fairbairn in Canberra, which is a monument dedicated to an air crash that occurred during the Second World War when a Lockheed Hudson carrying 6 government officials, including the Chief of the General Staff, crashed on approach back into Canberra. The Air Disaster Memorial was dedicated to the memory of those who died when a Royal Australian Air Force Lockheed Hudson crashed into the site on the 13th of August 1940. All 10 men in the aircraft, 4 crew and 6 passengers, were killed in the crash. 3 Commonwealth Ministers and the Chief of the General Staff were travelling from Melbourne to attend a cabinet meeting. The National Memorial Service held in Melbourne was regarded as the most emotional funeral in the young nation's history. The loss of so many men vital to the war effort in Australia at the time was a devastating blow, and newspaper editorials across the country recognised this. The Canberra Times represented as, quote, "These losses to Australia come at an hour when the least of all we can spare the services of those who led and directed us through hours unparalleled in their significance for the future welfare of its people." The fallout of this crash also raised another issue, which was the fact that government officials were travelling between Sydney, Canberra, and Melbourne to attend government meetings. These commentators used the crash to demand that once again all Commonwealth administration occur at the seat of government, Canberra, and it was felt that in 1940, Australia had still not yet committed to a capital city. A granite monolith was erected at the crash site, marking its dedication, and was unveiled on 13th of August 1960 in the presence of the Prime Minister, the Honourable Robert Menzies, who had been the Prime Minister during the time of the accident. The dedication occurred on the 20th anniversary of the crash. The Royal Australian Air Force Base at Canberra Airport was also named in honour of the Minister of State for Air, the Honourable James Fairbairn, and eucalyptus trees that flank the memorial are thought to be the remains of the original forest covering the hilltop. The men killed in the crash were Brigadier the Honourable Geoffrey Austin Street, Minister of State for Repatriation, the Honourable James Valentine Fairbairn, Minister of State for Air, Minister of State of Civil Aviation, the Honourable Sir Henry Summer Gullett, War Historian and Member for Henty, Vice President of the Executive Council, General Sir Cyril Broodnell Bingham White, Chief of the General Staff, Lieutenant Colonel Francis Thornwaite, Staff Officer to General White, Mr. Richard Edwin Elford, Private Secretary for the Minister of State for Air, Flight Lieutenant Robert Edward Hitchcock, the Royal Australian Air Force pilot, and Pilot Officer Richard Frederick Weisner, his co-pilot, along with Corporal John Frederick Palmer, which was his wireless operator, and Aircraftman First Class Charles Crosdale, who was the flight mechanic.